Hey there guys, it's DJ here from Reptiles for Centuries, and today's video we're going to focus yet again on the NR Mandarin project. As well, we're going to focus and touch base on some mutations like gravel and vanilla, which is great to have in your collections for future projects. So just to touch base first on the NR Mandarin project, there's a lot of confusion currently with the project. There's NR Mandarin and then there's Mandarin. So there is a difference between the two animals or the two lines. Both of the lines are still Mandarin in my opinion, but it comes back yet again to line breeding. Like with high intensity orange dream and orange dream, there's a lot of line breeding involved with the ball pythons, and in the future we'll touch base on that and focus a bit more on that. So basically, NR Mandarin was first discovered by Pete Newton of Newton Reptiles in Europe, and he developed the line, and so far in the industry that's what we classify as the true NR Mandarins or the true Mandarins. The other Mandarins that has come out is not so impressive and can be really hard to ID as well. What I've seen with the NR Mandarin projects is yet again you get some real great expressions, and then you get some other expressions which is not too great. So sit back and enjoy this video, and let's go look at some awesome Mandarin projects. So with most of these projects, color enhancing projects like lace, Mandarin, and the list goes on, sometimes you need to wait a couple of sheds to really get the best expression of the animal. So the key characteristics of the Mandarin gene, of course, Mandarin or NR Mandarin has got a lot of burnt oranges, and you guys will see is on the side of the animal, it's a lot more of a orange influence coming through, and overall the coloration of the animal is just a lot brighter. So where the true power lays in these animals are of course the supers and of course the NR Mandarin hypos. So this is just a plain NR Mandarin, as you guys can see, is a subtle but yet powerful base. So here we've got a good comparison. So this is a pastel NR Mandarin double-head hypoclown, and this is actually a pastel yellow belly head for cryptic and ultramore. This is the closest comparison that we've got to these two animals. And as you guys can see is the comparison between these animals, the pastel on my left hand side, or your guys' left hand side as well, is a lot more darker, and you guys can see is the blacks are more predominant, where with this animal it's not as dark and the blacks, it's got more of a softer look. And even, let me try and show you guys, in the teardrops or in the alien heads, you'll see that there's some blotching or more blotching coming through of the Mandarin. So this is the best comparison I can show you guys of these two combos. As you guys can see is the Mandarin has got a bit more of an orange coloration compared to even a pastel yellow belly. And I mean, yellow belly is already enhancing gene, bringing out a lot of flames. So as you guys can see is the pastel NR Mandarin doesn't have so much flames compared to the pastel yellow belly, but the coloration in my opinion is a lot better. Okay guys, so here we've got actually two animals that were twins. So these came from the exact same egg, and they're actually identical twins. So with the ball pythons, I've had identical twins like these two females, and then I've had actually two different babies or not identical twins from the same egg. So here we've got actually two NR Mandarin yellow belly double head for hypoclowns, and when these animals hatched out, they were really small, and it took some time really to color up. But as you guys can see is after a couple of sheds and a couple of meals, these guys has actually colored up a lot. So yet again, you guys can see is the Mandarin just intensifying the coloration. Look at the sides, you can see the yellow belly bringing up the flaming, but the Mandarin just intensifying the orange and just giving that burnt rusty color almost to it. Then what I want to show you guys, I'm going to keep one of these animals and just compare it to a yellow belly. This animal's in shed, so it's not really going to help because she's not even in her full potential. But normally yellow bellies are not as bright. Yet again, in the teardrops or in the saddles of the ball python or the patterning, it's normally not so burnt orange. So in general, Mandarin just intensifies the coloration, brings out a lot of orange onto the side, and really gives it this burnt orange look. Before we show you guys more of the Mandarin or the NR Mandarin babies we hatched out this past season, I thought let me show you guys the father to all of these babies. So this is our pastel NR Mandarin hyper male, And as you guys can see, is even in maturity, he's still got great coloration. I've loved the green tint that the hypo always brings to the color, to the animals. And of course, you guys can see is yet again the Mandarin sides just giving that extra orange, and overall just a brighter animal. And if you compare this to a plain pastel hypo, the colors will be similar but not exactly the same. They won't retain this orange look to them, and of course retain this awesome coloration as an adult. But yeah, let's go check out some of these babies of this past season. So here we're going to the hypo projects, and in my opinion the NR Mandarin project works for sure the best in the hypo project. I really think to get the true colorations and really to see the potential of the gene itself, you need to have some sort of hypo into the projects. But what makes me excited about this project is we haven't really seen a lot of animals yet again being produced in this. Recently we saw the Mandarin pieds, we saw the Mandarin clowns, but I think even Mandarin hypo, Mandarin ultramals, Mandarin puzzles, and all of these different combinations, even going into monsoon and sunset, is going to be so incredible. And I think that's really where the true potential lies with this animal. So this is actually an NR Mandarin hypo head for clown, and this is one of our breeder males for next season. Hopefully by next year May we can get him into the rotation. And we've got a few nice hypo clown females and hypo head clown females which we can pair up this male to. And maybe in the near future we can go for the NR Mandarin hypo ultramal clown, which I think is going to be an exceptional animal. So great male for our future projects. Let's go look at his pastel sibling. Okay guys, so here we've got the pastel NR Mandarin hypo head clown female. Just an incredible animal. If you compare her to the plain NR Mandarin hypo head clown, I actually prefer this female over all of the other combinations we've hatched out. So there is still a room for pastel, especially if the animals look like this. So yet again, she's a pastel NR Mandarin hypo head clown, and just a great coloration, and yet again a great expression of the gene. So yet again, there's a lot of line breeding with this gene itself. So I believe taking this animal and doubling the NR Mandarin, going for the supers with her quality, is going to be really crazy. And that's something we're focusing a lot here, is trying to keep back the very best visually animals, and again the most, how can you say, best expression of each animal. And I think something like this going forward is just going to increase the animals, how can you say, the coloration, and also the quality of the animals that we're going to produce in the near future. So let's go look at the Spotnose NR Mandarin combos. Spotnose is one of the most trickier animals in the NR Mandarin project. Here we've got a Spotnose NR Mandarin hypo head clown. And to be honest with you guys, the Spotnose gene in the Mandarin gene is quite hard to identify. So we were lucky enough to hatch a great clutch from the pastel NR Mandarin hypo male to a Spotnose clown head hypo female, which are the mother and father of all of these babies we're showing you now. And I must say there were some of the babies who were a bit more tricky to ID with Spotnose. I don't know if the Spotnose interaction is quite strong and maybe covers up some of the coloration of the Mandarin gene. But looking at this animal, still I believe there's a lot of potential. I just feel you need to be very careful with the pairings you're going to make if it involves Spotnose and Mandarin. Not try and make too much complex pairings, rather keep it a bit more basic. And if you go with the Spotnose direction, maybe add like a dark base gene group, like black pastel or blackhead. Just something that can help you bring out the contrast in the animal to make the identification of the snake itself a bit easier. But yet, nonetheless, I'm still very happy with this male, and he's a great addition for our future collection. And the last animal we're going to show you from this clutch is the pastel Spotnose NR Mandarin hypo head clown, and she's also just as stunning. So here's the pastel NR Mandarin Spotnose hypo head clown female, and yet again a stunning animal, but we lose a bit of that Mandarin effect. And I'm quite confident that this female is Mandarin, because we did hatch out another male in this clutch which was just a pastel Spotnose hypo head clown, and he didn't have this orange sides and overall this orange tint. So I'm not taking away from Spotnose. With all of these combos, it just takes the right gene to actually unlock the potential of the animal. But in my opinion, Spotnose can be a bit difficult in the Mandarin project. So in the future, if you make pairings for Mandarin Spotnose animals, just be precise and make sure your pairings are not too complex. So guys, in my opinion, the super genes or super version of certain genes are the future of ball pythons. I think working with like the NR Mandarin project, with gravel, with vanilla, it's just going to have so much potential in the near future because there's no genetic limitation. So for instance, if you breed two animals which has got either yellow belly or fire on both sides of the pairing, we end up with a pure white snake. Same with most of the bell complex animals. In the past, we've kept back a lot of animals, and we've actually made the mistake sometimes to keep back too much yellow belly or too much fire animals in the past. And what we've been doing now is we've actually been slowly but surely keeping back more gravel, more vanilla, more asphalt, more mandarin, more lace, all of these different projects, which if we do pair two lace animals to each other, we're not going to end up with a pure white snake. And yet again, if we breed with that animal again in the future, there's no confusion. We know that everything from a white lace bred to a normal, bred to anything else, we are guaranteed to get lace at the bare minimum. That's why I love working with the supers, and I really think in the near future it's a great asset and a great valuable project to start incorporating these non-white supers, in a sense where if you breed two of the animals together with each other, you're not going to get a complete white snake. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love the NR Mandarin project, and we've got high expectations for this coming season to show you guys some brand new combos in the project.